Yo, what's up, family? Before we start the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and share to any and every one that you can. Just get out there a little bit more. With that being said, let's get right into the video. The Toronto Raptors scored 119 points on the second best defense in the NBA, and I want to take a look at how that happened. So let's get into the film. All right, how y'all doing? Hope y'all doing good. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, make sure you take your shoes off before you come in the house. And again, Toronto Raptors scored 119 points against the Pistons. And this is a really good physical defensive team that we have in the Detroit Pistons. Asar Thompson came back after missing 5 games, but there are some sore spots on this team. And with a team that needs shooting desperately, guys like Duncan Robinson and Kevin Huerter, they provide offensive value. But on the defensive side of the ball, the Raptors just mismatch hunted all game against Robinson, Huerter, and Marcus Sasser, who I don't think is a horrible defender, but he's just really small. So when you're going up against BI and Scotty Barnes, stuff like that, it's just probably not going to be the best for them guys. So I see the Raptors go to weave, blind pig. Weave action is a series of dribble handoffs, usually 2 dribble handoffs to start an offensive play, usually on the perimeter above the 3-point line. So we have the first one from Emmanuel Quickly to RJ Barrett, then from RJ Barrett to Brandon Ingram. Now for the second part of this play, which is blind pig. Blind pig is a dribble handoff under a denying or high playing defender. So you see that Emmanuel Quickly's got the logo right here, and you see how far Duncan Robinson is playing off this, right? So he's feet above the 3-point line on Emmanuel Quickly with his back turned to everybody else on offense. So the flash up by Jakob Poeltl, then we're gonna do a handoff under Duncan Robinson right there. It doesn't amount to anything, so we get it back to BI, and this is where the hunting starts right here. Usually some of this stuff, well, a lot of this stuff was just simple screens. So whoever Duncan Robinson, Kevin Huerter, or Marcus Sasser were guarding, that man will come set a screen and force the switch right here, so BI or Scotty Barnes can get into the post or just attack from the perimeter on those guys. Here we have one screen by Emmanuel Quickly, and BI gets Duncan Robinson on him and he scores. All right, so this is one of the few plays in this video, probably the only one where they didn't actually hunt Duncan Robinson. I just thought this was a really good action. So you see that they started trying to hunt Duncan Robinson here. So we got Jakob Poeltl setting his wide action screen. Looked like it was going to be ram action. Ram action is an off-ball screen for somebody to go set a ball screen. So Jakob setting this off-ball screen for Brandon Ingram, and he was gonna come, well, he does set this screen on Duncan Robinson, but they don't end up getting a switch. So you see he sets the screen right there, but they don't end up getting a switch. But they get into a pick and roll. Now usually this is not great spacing by the Raptors here, right? But with Duran and the Pistons, they usually play really aggressive pick and roll defense, of course, their physicality and stuff like that, so that holds up. He usually is gonna play up to the level of these screens. And with Jakob setting the screen, Duncan Robinson's gonna have to go over. And as Emmanuel Quickly tries to turn the corner right there, Jalen Duran's gonna try to impede his path right there, but him and Duncan Robinson both go to Emmanuel Quickly, right? So that means Cade has to tag. The tag is a defensive player that's responsible for stopping a roller so they don't get an open layup. Usually the tag is in the corner, so it's the low man in the corner, and they're responsible for tagging, right? But since BI was right here, right next to the pick and roll, and 2 goes to the ball, that means they create a high tag right there with Cade Cunningham coming off of Brandon Ingram. He doesn't hit the first shot, but you see how open of a look that got, but Jakob Poeltl gets it back to him for $1. All right, so Raptors also went to a ton of Miami action in this game. Miami action is a dribble handoff into a pick and roll. So it's just somebody giving somebody a handoff, and then that person that received the handoff gets into a pick and roll. So you see handoff there by Jamal Shead, then immediately Brandon Ingram's going to flow into a pick and roll with Jonathan Mobo. He's going to get into his area right there, his spot in the mid-range, rise up and shoot it. All right, so here, this one is very simple. Raptors already have the matchup that they want. Kevin Huerter on Scotty Barnes. So you see Darko telling everybody to clear out right there. Just give Scotty Barnes the side, and you see he immediately goes. He doesn't wait for anything. Immediately goes, gets past Kevin Huerter. You see how the defense reacts to that right there. RJ Barrett cutting baseline right there. Gets the layup. All right, so something else we're going to see a couple times in this video is something called switch avoidance. It's exactly how it sounds. When we talk about them hunting Duncan Robinson, hunting Kevin Huerter, hunting Marcus Sasser, right? They're going to get the switch. Well, the aim is to get the switch, right? But sometimes those guys just aren't going to switch because they don't want to, and that's not the game plan, right? So them avoiding the switch also creates different things because that can get 2 on the ball and stuff like that. So here we got Scotty Barnes and Emmanuel Quickly in the angle pick and roll right here, but Scotty isn't able to get the first screen really off, but then he flips it and gets kind of a step-up screen. A step-up screen is a screen angled towards the opposite baseline, right? So he's facing that way, right? And that gets Sasser off the body of Emmanuel Quickly. So usually this will be a switch, right? Paul Reed is already right there. Marcus Sasser would just stay right here, but he doesn't go over there because, again, that's Scotty Barnes. So Emmanuel Quickly gets the ball right there. Now there were 2 on the ball right there, so now we have situations. We have advantageous basketball here by the Raptors, and Scotty Barnes passed passing as a player as a whole is just really good. But in this game, it was phenomenal. Here, he sees the angle that Mambo has on Javonte Green, so he looks away to make the defense think he's going somewhere else, and right there he passes it for the foul. All right, should the Raptors go to delay action here? Delay action is when you have a big at the top of the key and you have actions going on both sides. So it's a 5-out offensive set where the big has the ball at the top of the key, and then you just have like pin downs, you have flares on both sides with stuff happening. So the primary side right here is this one. So it looks like they were going to go to zoom action. Zoom action is when somebody receives an off-ball screen to go get a dribble handoff. So it looked like RJ was going to set this pin right here for Emmanuel quickly, and he was going to come off to get this dribble handoff from Jakob Poeltl. But you see how Marcus Sass is playing it, right? So he does a good job diagnosing the play. So he's going to top lock Emmanuel quickly so he can't come this way. But Emmanuel quickly does a good job not being a robot, sees the way Marcus Sass is playing it, and he just cuts right to the basket, and a good pass by Jakob Poeltl leading to a foul. All right, so we have a perfect example of them hunting Duncan Robinson. So Jakob Poeltl is going to come up and try to screen, but P.I.'s like, nah, clear out. He wants Emmanuel quickly to come screen. Why? Because he has Duncan Robinson on him. He sets the screen, they get the switch, and he goes to work again. All right, so it looked like RJ Barrett was going to hand off to Brandon Ingram to initiate the first weave handoff. He tells him to pass the ball to Jakob Poeltl, and we get back to delay action. So again, delay action, got the big at the top of the key, 5-out offense really with things happening on both sides. So first on this side, we got the pin down for RJ Barrett, well, from RJ Barrett to Brandon Ingram, but Jakob decides to go to the other side, and we actually get the zoom action this time. Again, zoom is a dribble handoff in which the handoff receiver receives an off-ball screen to go get a dribble handoff. So Scotty Barnes setting that screen with Jamal Shead to go get that dribble handoff from Jakob Poeltl. As he drives, everybody goes down to the paint, leaving Scotty open for the three. All right, so here to start the second half, the Raptors go to stack out step. All right, so the first part of this is stack out, which is a type of entry. So stack out is just something that teams use to enter a play. So the stack part is usually when there's a big right here and there's another player right there. So they literally stacked on top of each other, and the big will screen, and then the out part is somebody out cutting to either wing, right? So the Raptors don't have the stack alignment like actually. There's also horns out, where horns is two people at the elbows of the free throw line or close to it, and it's the same thing. The big will screen for this guy to outcut to either wing, right? So we have Jakob Poeltl. He's going to set the screen for Scotty Barnes so he can outcut to this ring. Now the step part of this is a screen we talked about earlier, which is the step up screen. That is a screen angle to the opposite baseline right here. So you see that angle to screen by RJ Barrett switch for Duncan Robinson to get on Scotty Barnes, and he does a post fade. All right, so they go back to the same play again, stack out step. You see Jakob Poeltl setting the screen for Scotty Barnes to outcut to the wing. You see RJ Barrett already over there getting ready to set that step up screen. So he's going to set the step up screen right here, but this time they're not going to switch it, right? He just got burnt on the switch. He was getting burnt all first half, right? So after RJ sets this screen, they trap or they blitz Scotty Barnes right here, gets RJ Barrett into the short roll, and Emmanuel quickly gets a wide open three. He does not hit this, but you can see they got a good shot out of that. All right, so here you see one very simple screen by RJ Barrett, gets Duncan Robinson onto Brandon Ingram, and he draws a foul. All right, so the Raptors go to horns, chest, horns. Alignment is when there's two people at or near the elbows of the free throw line. So you see Jakob right here, you see Emmanuel quickly right here. Chest action is when somebody sets an on-ball screen. Then after they set this screen, they go out to receive a flare screen, right? So Emmanuel quickly is going to set that first screen, and he's going to receive a flare screen right there from Jakob Poeltl. This first on-ball screen can be a regular screen. It can be a go screen, right? This time, Emmanuel is going to set the go screen right there. Kate Cunningham gets stuck right there because he thought that they were going to actually set this screen so he can switch it. But then you see Emmanuel quickly sets that go screen. He receives a flare right there. Ball goes to him. He snakes it. A good Gortat screen there by Jakob Poeltl. Has Caris reverse sink in. He passes out to RJ for the three. I see the Raptors going to combine two actions that we've already talked about in this game really beautifully. Here they go to horns, chest, Miami. So horns alignment, two people at or near the elbows of the free throw line with two people in the corner. Right here, then the chest action, on-ball screen, and then that on-ball screen is going to receive a flare screen. So Jacoby Walters is going to set this go screen right here. Then Scotty Barnes is going to set a screen right here on Caris LeVert for that flare. But then the Miami action, again, the dribble handoff into a pick and roll right there. So handoff by Emmanuel quickly to RJ Barrett. Then the screen right here by Scotty Barnes. Good screen by Scotty Barnes. Takes Sasser off of RJ Barrett. So now they have a switch. But you see the angle in which Scotty Barnes releases off that, gets into the roll right there. Great pass, Jakob Poeltl for the floater. All right, so in the fourth quarter, they also use back screen. So a back screen is exactly how it sounds, a back screen right here. But it's important that Emmanuel quickly setting this, right? So whoever they want to hunt, again, whether it's Duncan Robinson, Kevin Huerter, Marcus Astor, whoever that guy's guarding is the guy that's going to be screening, right? So they want to force a switch. It's very similar to UCLA action, but it's usually the point guard who gets the screen from a high post player, right? But we have Emmanuel quickly setting the back screen. Good screen by Emmanuel quickly getting Tobias Harris off the body of Scotty Barnes. Marcus Astor switches and they get an and one. I should go back to the same thing. Jamal Shead has Duncan Robinson guarding him, so he's going to set that screen. Scotty Barnes, momentum was taking him this way at first. And you see Javonte Green is going to try to shoot this gap right here and stay connected to Scotty Barnes, but then he cuts, almost gets the switch, but they don't end up getting it. But Duncan Robinson ends back up on Jamal Shead, and he attacks him and scores. And again, very simple. One screen to a pull-up and one. But that is a video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe, and share to any and everyone that you can. Just out there a little bit more. And I will see you guys next video. This is Nick. Peace.